So let's talk a little bit about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or there's another term, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So post-traumatic stress disorder is when a very severe event happens, and this is very subjective, and by that I mean, hey, there's some soldiers talking and some big tragedy happens to one of their friends, one person gets PTSD, the other doesn't. So it's subjective. What would a person would consider a threat is completely a personal experience to them. So we can't compare what we would consider the trigger or the cause of these things. When somebody feels threatened and they can't resolve it, that can create post-traumatic stress disorder. So this event happens and we don't reconcile it. It doesn't make sense to us, and it gets relegated to the unconscious mind and sits there kind of like a program on your computer. And when something similar happens later in life, because that's what our brain is doing, is comparing my known to what's going on around me so I can function in the world. When something similar happens, it triggers this program and I'm reliving the experience. So my body then is secreting the same hormones of stress. I'm reliving that experience. I may or may not have a flashback around it, but I'm clearly not in the state that I was a couple of seconds ago. And sometimes people don't even know that it's happening. They just know that they get this wave of anxiety and they're reliving this traumatic event, whether they know it or not. And complex PTSD just refers to a scenario that may not be like the one big event, but spread out over time. If I'm in an abusive relationship or narcissistic relationship, in a toxic family system that I was brought up in, and so something will happen again and again and again and again and again, that's called complex PTSD. So often the aftermath of those things will be anxiety, depression, substance use, all the things that go along when the brain is out of balance and people are out of balance. So we treat PTSD and CPTSD in a holistic way because we know that we store trauma in the body. Right, that's pretty well known, and everybody can understand, hey, when I'm all stressed out, my body's contracted, I'm tighter, and if I spend a long time that way, my body just has the memory of that. So we have to get it out of the body, right? So we do a lot of work with the body to help the body release that information, the stress hormones, the information, all the toxic energy. We have to repair the gut. Gut is sending signals to the brain. My gut health is directly relational to what's going on and how functional my brain is and my brain's capacity to reconcile and heal. So put everybody on a very particular diet of real organic food that the body can recognize and use as building blocks, including my brain, new brain cells. And put everybody on a supplement protocol to repair the brain because PTSD causes brain damage. And what I mean by that is typically a person with PTSD that's reliving this experience over and over again. Well, every time that happens, I'm secreting stress hormones, cortisol being the primary one that I'm referring to here. And the brain is not meant to be bathed in cortisol all the time. It's toxic to the brain, particularly the hippocampus, which is our learning and memory center and responsible also for moods. So we have to repair the hippocampus so we can reprogram the brain. So we do that with supplements and food and drips, and our naturopathic doctor has interventions to get our bodies back in a more vital state. Then we have to reframe, we have to reprogram the unconscious mind because that's where this program lies. And if I could just think my way out of it, I would. We wouldn't be looking at a video like this. So we can't think our way out of this. We have to use interventions to dig this out, get it, reprogram it, so we can finally put it to bed once and for all. So the past doesn't continue to claim the present moment. That's the problem with PTSD, is that I keep reliving that experience. I keep reliving the past, and that prevents me from being present now for whoever's in front of me, or my passion, my purpose, the meaning that I want to assign to my life. Then we have to look at the level of the soul. If we are a holistic program, we have to look at the soul, and the soul is our truest nature. You know, we've asked this question to thousands of people over the years, what is the soul? And while some people can't really explain it very well, by and large, all of them say that my soul is my truest essential nature. It's my true self. And when we get disconnected from our true self, because, hey, I'm battling this situation that's going on in my limbic brain, or I'm not living the life that I'm meant to live because of this PTSD, or in addition to having PTSD. So really getting reacquainted with our true nature. Who are you, and what does your life mean? And is your life an expression of really your core values and who you are and who you want to be? And if it's not, that's more in relation to the soul. And that causes soul sickness. So there are specific interventions that we use at the sanctuary that interface directly with the soul, because the soul has a different language than the body or the mind. And finally, we look at something that we call the energy system of the body. So our whole brain and nervous system is electrically generated, and this electrical field that's around us is picking up signals from Earth's field, and this becomes very important for our body's ability to repair and to heal, connection to something greater. Sometimes people will confuse religion or spirituality with this. We look at this in a very scientific way, and there are tons of research out there that talks about the frequency of my nervous system. My nervous system, the heartbeat of my nervous system beats at the same frequency as the heartbeat of the earth, because our biology has been in this system for hundreds of thousands, millions of years, however long. And when this is compromised, typically whatever compromises the nervous system will compromise this antenna, and I'm on a different channel than the earth. That creates even more anxiety. And the thing is that I'm not aware that that's happening, because I'm just looking at the circumstance around my PTSD. So at the sanctuary, we have a protocol that we address all of these layers of the human being, because it affects, if you're watching this video, PTSD has affected so many areas of your life. It affects our relationships, it affects our jobs, it affects the way we look at our children and our families and our hopes and dreams. And therefore we have to treat it holistically, because it's everywhere. Just like everything else, the body is connected, everything is connected. And we have to treat each part in the way that that part understands. The body has a language, the mind has a language, the soul has a language, and spirit, our connection to the greater field, all has a language. And that's how we treat post-traumatic stress disorder at the sanctuary.